Hi guys, Michael Abayimi here, and today I'll be doing a recap and review of the second episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Needless to say, I'll be touching upon spoilers for the second episode, so if you haven't seen the episode or the one before, be sure to come back after you've seen it if you don't want to get spoiled. With that out of the way, let's get on with the episode. So the last episode ended with a review of a new Captain America, which hadn't gone over particularly well with fans over the internet, with everybody pretty much hating the new Captain America instantly. So I love the fact that for this second episode, we started with basically where that one left off, with an introduction to who this new Captain America was, a decorated US soldier, and even from the beginning you could tell that he had stage fright. He was actually afraid to take up the mantle, the same way Sam Wilson was afraid to take up the mantle after Steve Rogers. These are like very big shoes to fill, which was even something the character said during the episode, like filling the shoes of Steve Rogers. And at the end of the day, this was just another human being that was being called upon, and he felt it was part of his duty. So I like the fact that they humanized the character, and right off the bat we could actually get to see this human, likable side of the character overall. So I like the fact that we started with that. So one of my main complaints from the last episode was the fact that we didn't actually get a meeting between Sam and Bucky within the episode itself. Because for a show called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you'd have thought that the entire show would have been about both characters, like the interplay between both characters and everything. So, and I like the fact that this new episode addressed that from the beginning. Like, they didn't waste any time before we actually got both characters on the screen together. And basically everything that was promised from the trailers, the banter between the two, everything was delivered within that first scene. All that was starting to like come to fruit within this episode, and I really appreciated the fact that they didn't waste any time to get there. So, but basically it was Bucky accusing Sam of not taking up the mantle, and because of that now we have this new guy coming up as Captain America. But Sam, trying to diffuse the situation, tells Bucky about this current threat with the Flag Smashers and the fact that he had traced them to a location in Munich. So, and Bucky being Bucky, he insisted on tagging along with Sam, and you could still see the comical interplay between both characters during the plane ride, with the whole stare down and both characters acting childish. And this was basically what the trailers had promised us, and it kind of like lightens the mood of the entire show overall, because the first episode was more of like character focused with more of like a dour tone. So this one is showing a more comical side of the entire show, which is something I really appreciate. Next in the episode, both characters have their first encounter together with the Flag Smashers, and it was immediately revealed that these were not just regular terrorists, because each one had like superhuman strengths. They were basically super soldiers, same as Bucky and Captain America, and they easily overpowered the two of them. Lucky for the two, the new Captain America comes to intervene, but even him was no match for this guys that actually had super strength, because at the end of the day, the new Captain America doesn't have any powers. It's just a skilled soldier. So needless to say, all four of them are beaten and the Flag Smashers got away. But the new Captain America tries to enlist the help of both Falcon and Bucky, trying to get all of them to work together, but Bucky was still not having it. He basically wasn't feeling the new guy. He felt he didn't really deserve to take up the mantle of Captain America, which the guy himself was trying to explain that it wasn't something he asked for. It was more like duty for him, and he had done his part and everything, but Bucky just wasn't having it, and at the end of the day, they both agreed to go their separate ways. Another thing I really enjoyed in the episode was the fact that we got more light shined on the Flag Smashers themselves. The fact that we now understand what the organization is about. Of course, they're a terrorist group doing terrorist things, but we now have a clearer understanding of what their overall like goal is. So basically, the way things were after the Thanos snap, with half of humanity disappearing, they are trying to take things back to that era before the blip and everybody came back. Because basically what's happening in the current world of the MCU as it is now is that the governments are prioritizing welfare and all their resources towards all the people that suddenly appeared out of nowhere, which is another thing I actually enjoyed, that they're actually tackling. The fact that just having half of humanity appearing out of nowhere is obviously going to have serious economic impacts on society and everything. So they've been trying to focus all their resources on sorting out all the refugees that just came out from nowhere, and the Flag Smashers are not particularly happy about that. They want things to go back to the way it was, where there were more resources for everyone. So I like the fact that they showed us this, or rather they told us this, and we're actually getting to see more of a human side of the Flag Smashers themselves. You can actually see that they still had a human side to them, because at the end of the day, the best villains are the ones that, even if you don't agree with their ideologies, you can still see their humanity. You can still see that human side of why they are doing the things they are doing. So I like the fact that we got to see that in this episode. So, but in a bit to find out where the flag smashers are getting their super serum, Bucky takes Sam to a man named Isaiah, who was a potential lead. And it turns out that the Isaiah was actually another super soldier from way back in the 50s that Bucky encountered. And from everything that took place within the scene, he lamented about the fact that he had been experimented on, he was imprisoned for 30 years of his life, he didn't even really have a life, they were studying him like a guinea pig. And because of all that, he had grown to have this like growing resentment. And the only reason why he even agreed to see him was just to like see if he was actually there to kill him or what was happening. But Bucky was trying to explain that he's a changed man now, he's no longer a killer. But Isaiah wasn't having any of it. So basically he kicked the two of them out and that lead turned out to be a dead end. But I have a feeling that he's still going to come back, future episodes to come. But it was interesting to see that particular aspect of the MCU that we hadn't seen. And speaking of aspects that we don't usually get to see in the MCU, while they were outside, Sam was pretty much angry about the whole situation himself. He was showing his anger that how come there was like a black super soldier and nobody ever said anything about this, and he was just finding out. And while displaying his anger, some policemen pull over, and of course their first assumption is that there's an angry black man harassing this white man. And while Bucky was trying to like explain that wasn't the situation, it took them a while for them to even realize that the so-called angry black man was actually Sam Wilson, a hero that actually saved the whole world and everything. So basically, I like the fact that the showrunners are not afraid to tackle such issues like social profiling and this whole like social divide that actually still takes place today, these real world issues, which is something that we don't really get to see in the movies. So I like the fact that for their smaller shows like this one and WandaVision, we're getting the exploration of this like deeper themes. So which is something that I would like to see more of during the course of the entire 6-episode run. So, but that was something I really appreciated seeing. It turns out that Bucky himself was wanted because he had skipped out on his therapy sessions. If you remember during the previous episode, he was having therapy with this woman that was acting as his therapist. So because he had missed out on his session, he had a warrant out for his arrest, and he ended up getting arrested for that. So, but during the next scene, we see that the new Captain America had worked to bail him out and get the therapist to come and sign his release form. But as a condition for his release, therapists insisted that they have an impromptu therapy session right there in the police station. And this was easily my favorite scene in the entire episode, that therapy session they had in the police station. So we had Bucky still accusing Sam of failing to take up the mantle of the shield, and Sam still insisting that he did what he thought was the right thing. And at the end of the whole ordeal, both characters agreeing that once they are able to take care of the flag smashers, that they'll go their separate ways, and the therapist just sitting and taking her notes and everything. So this obviously is the typical like formula you'd expect from like a buddy cop comedy. Like you have the two partners, they have their differences, there are tensions between them, but over the course of the overall story, they'll get to iron out their differences and gain a new understanding of each other. So I like the whole setup is what I'm saying. Like the fact that all this is being set up, at the end of the day, I have a feeling that all this is going to be paid off in the future episodes. So it'll be nice to see all that happen. So once both characters are out of prison, the new Captain America approaches them once again, trying to get them to work together with him, but they still insisted on doing things their own way since they're able to work outside the lines of governments. And because of this, the new Captain America actually showed a villainous side. Like he actually made a statement that in that case, they shouldn't get in his way. And this was like a glimpse at what could actually be a potential conflict in the future. Because both of them, even though they are working towards the same goal, they are working through different means, and there's that potential for conflict between the two of them. So I like the fact that all this is being laid out for future episodes, and I'd like to see how everything eventually explodes at the end of the day. So during the final scene of the episode, Bucky revealed to Sam that he still had one more lead that they could go to in order to find out where the flag smashers are getting their super serum from. Because basically the whole idea is to try and find out where these super soldiers came from, like how this terrorist group were able to get like the super serum and what was actually happening with all that. So Bucky reveals that he had another lead that they could go to find out where the flag smashers got their serum from. And this lead turns out to be Zemo, the same Zemo from Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So, and the last shot was a shot of Zemo in prison, which kind of like makes you wonder, how are they going to see him? Are they going to have to break into prison to see him since they're operating outside the lines of authority, or would they have to like break him out of prison, or how exactly are they planning to work with him? And will he be willing to actually play ball, or will he be an antagonist? Basically, all this raises a lot of questions that I'd like to see answered in the remaining 4 episodes of the show. So overall, I really enjoyed the episode, and I felt it was more additional setup for things to come. Like, it took everything that happened in the first episode and pushed it forward, just nudged it forward a bit more, so that we have a clearer picture of what to expect with the show overall. And basically everything is coming together quite nicely, as you'd expect from a show of this caliber. But if I was to give the episode an overall rating, I'll give it a 7/10. But those are just my thoughts. What were your own thoughts about the episode? Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed watching the review, and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on if you'd like to see more reviews like this in the future. And until the next one, this is Michael signing off.